So it's time for the weekly challenge number 50, and this time it's all about building self-esteem. In particular, we are gonna write some self-esteem building sentences based on Nathaniel Branden's book, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and these practices are actually taken directly from his book. So stay tuned if you want to hear all the details, because it is gonna be magical. Number 50. It's time for the weekly challenge number 50. And this time we are diving all in on self-esteem. We have been walking around this topic for a while, and last week we actually started to do some implementing actionable things to raise our self-esteem. But now we are gonna take a book as a foundation for some weeks to come to really build a theoretical knowledge base for how self-esteem works with action, because it doesn't matter how much we read up on this, if we don't take action, nothing will happen. So that is what this week is going to be about. We are going to build self-esteem through the book The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden, and he has divided this area up into 6 pillars, and the first pillar will be the focus of this week. And the pillar's name is living consciously, being present, being conscious. And we are gonna use Branden's exercise program for this pillar in specific. That means writing some sentences each morning, each day throughout the week. However, when throwing ourselves into a book like this, it's quite hard actually. It's easy to get overwhelmed or just get bored, because as this topic is quite diffuse, you can read it and you can understand it, but you don't really understand. You have to work on yourself parallel. You need to apply what you've read, and if you just read a whole lot and then try to implement it, it won't work. It's too much. That's why we're gonna drag this out. We need to take our time with this one. And since there are 6 pillars in this book, we're gonna actually take one pillar for each week to spice it up a little bit. Every other week we are gonna do the rejection therapy challenge to really have some hands-on application, building self-esteem for real, putting ourselves out there, which I did last week. And if you didn't see that, please watch that. I think it was a very good week. So this week we start with the living consciously. That's the first pillar. But before we dig into that, we are gonna just briefly go through some structural terms for how to define self-esteem and just get a basic understanding of what it actually is. I am not gonna dig too deep into this. It's easier if we just focus in on the practical side of this. Then I'm gonna leave it to you to actually do some reading. I am gonna put a link down here to where you can actually listen to the full audiobook. Someone put it out on YouTube, or you could go to Amazon. Audible has a 30-day trial. You can download it there for free. Anyhow, so let's dig into self-esteem and what it is all about. I am no expert at this at all. This is my learning as I go. So that means I'm really gonna be a quote master in this video. But Nathaniel Branden, he's a well-known researcher, expert in this area, actually passed away a couple of years ago. But his book is seen to be like the Bible on self-esteem. So here goes quote machine Alex. I'm just gonna read through it now. So just sit down, hang tight, and try to take in what I'm saying. So first up, we're gonna start with Nathaniel Branden's definition of self-esteem. Self-esteem is the disposition to experience oneself as being competent to cope with the basic challenges of life and of being worthy of happiness. It is confidence in the efficacy of our mind, in our ability to think. By extension, it is confidence in our ability to learn, make a appropriate choices and decisions and respond effectively to change. It is also the experience that success, achievement, fulfillment, happiness are right and natural for us. The survival value of such confidence is obvious. So is the danger when it is missing. A more quotable, shorter definition: self-esteem is the repetition that we acquire with ourselves. Boom, heavy. So let's continue. So the meaning of having a precise definition is to really have a clear aim of where you want to go, to know what it is that you're working towards. And I think that's not my words, that's Brandon's words, and I think it makes perfect sense. The clearer vision you have in your distant future, the easier it is to actually get there. It is as simple as that. Self-esteem has two interrelated components. One is a sense of basic confidence in the face of life's challenges, self-efficacy. The other is a sense of being worthy of happiness, self-respect. Self-efficacy means confidence in the functioning of my mind, in my ability to think, understand, learn, choose, and make decisions. Confidence in my ability to understand the facts of reality that fall within the sphere of my interests and needs. Self-trust, self-reliance. Self-respect means assurance of my value, an affirmative attitude toward my right to live and to be happy, comfort in appropriately asserting my thoughts, wants, and needs, the feeling that joy and fulfillment are my natural birthright. So that's the basic understanding of what self-esteem really is. Quote machine Alex continues. Self-esteem is a fundamental human need. Its impact requires neither our understanding nor our consent. It works its way within us with or without our knowledge. We are free to seek to grasp the dynamics of self-esteem or to remain unconscious of them. But in the latter case, we remain a mystery to ourselves and endure the consequences. The value of self-esteem lies not merely in the fact that it allows us to feel better, but it allows us to live better, to respond to challenges and opportunities more resourcefully and more appropriately. Self-esteem creates a set of implicit expectations about what is possible and appropriate to us. These expectations tend to generate the actions that turn them into realities, and the realities confirm and strengthen the original beliefs. Self-esteem, high or low, tends to be a generator of self-fulfilling prophecies. So that's some understanding for why we might need self-esteem, but how do we actually go about building it? What determines the level of self-esteem is what the individual does. In approaching the roots of self-esteem, why do we put our focus on practices? That is, on mental or physical actions. The answer is that every value pertaining to life requires action to be achieved, sustained, or enjoyed. In Ayn Rand's definition, life is a process of self-generated and self-sustaining action. The organs and systems within our bodies support our existence by continuous action. We pursue and maintain our values in the world through action. As I discuss in some details in the physiology of self-esteem, it is in the very nature of a value that I is the object of an action. And this includes the value of self-esteem. So that was just in brief to get some introductory understanding of self-esteem. Now we're going to move on to the first chapter of this book. The first pillar, the pillar of living consciously. To live consciously means to seek to be aware of everything that bears on our actions, purposes, values, and goals to the best of our ability, whatever that ability may, and to behave in accordance with that which we see and know. Why is consciousness so important? Because for all species that possesses it, consciousness is the basic tool of survival. The ability to be aware of the environment in some form, at some level, and guide action accordingly. I use consciousness here in its primary meaning. the state of being conscious or aware of some aspect of reality. We also may speak of consciousness as a faculty, the attribute of being able to be aware. To the distinctively human form of consciousness, with its capacity for concept formation and abstract thought, we give the name mind. We are beings for whom consciousness at the conceptual level is volitional. This means that the design of our nature contains an extraordinary option, that of seeking awareness or not bothering, or actively avoiding it, seeking truth or not bothering, or actively avoiding it, focusing our mind or not bothering, or choosing to drop to a lower level of consciousness. In other words, we have the option to exercising our powers or subverting our means of survival and well-being. This capacity for self-management is our glory and at times our burden. Our mind is our basic tool of survival. Betray it and self-esteem suffers. If we do not bring an appropriate level of consciousness to our activities, if we do not live mindfully, the inevitable penalty is diminished sense of self-efficacy and self-respect. We cannot feel competent and worthy while conducting our lives in a mental fog. Our mind is our basic tools of survival. Betrayed and self-esteem suffers. The simplest form of this betrayal is the evasion of discomforting facts. Living consciously entails So that is the first pillar, living consciously. And as you probably noticed when I went through this last list, it is actually a whole lot of what we've been doing since this year started. Self-awareness, being aware, self-image, it all intervenes. It is part of this living consciously. So we have actually been practicing it a whole lot. And that's a good thing, because that means we have a heads up. We kind of grasp what it is about. It's not rocket science. It is about being present, being conscious, taking in the environment, ourselves, our emotions. But it's easier said than done. Practice, practice, practice is what will make us increase our awareness, being more conscious throughout the day. So the objectives of this week will be taken straight out of the book. I will quote the whole description in the text down below in the description. And if it doesn't fit in the description, you will find a link to my homepage where the whole explanation of how to go about this exercise will be found. Basically, it is about having a STEM sentence which will be finalized by you. It will be about how to live consciously. So the idea is to take different STEM sentences and then you finish them off. For instance, the first one is, if I were to live more consciously, I would and then you just finish the sentence. And there's no emphasizing thinking a lot, just write, just go with it, make it quick and effective. And it's a number of STEM sentences that you will write every morning and every evening. And the idea is that every session should take maximum of 10 minutes or approximate 10 minutes. At least that's his words. I haven't done this myself yet, and I think it's easier if you just look through the description so you can see how you will do this. And the idea is to do this Monday to Friday, and then on Friday you are gonna look through these sentences and finish off with writing, if any of what I wrote this week is true, it would be helpful if I ... This whole exercise may seem a little, I don't know, not so exciting maybe, At least that's how I think about it now. But I am gonna go all in, and I'm gonna do this morning and evening. Nathaniel Brandon has done a lot of coaching, he says, and I mean, he's an expert in this area. He says that this really helps. So I'm gonna trust in his words and just do this full-heartedly. Yeah, of course I would like you to do the same. And as I've said, in the description you will find more exactly how to go about this. So that is it. That is this week's challenge. I am also gonna mention that I am gonna be more conscious throughout the week. I am gonna apply what I've done the previous weeks, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to see my videos where I talk about that too. Otherwise, prioritize doing these exercises, but also try to be more conscious throughout the day. Checking in on yourself, be aware, be present, try to analyze, do that. So with those words, I'm gonna close this chapter down, or we just open it. My name is Alexander Nilsson. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Make sure to stop by in the week so we can discuss this further, as I only surfaced this topic. Have a nice evening, guys. Bye. Living consciously, being present.